All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome to episode 44 of the KissFAQ podcast. I am your host this week, Lonnie, stlkiss on the KissFAQ message board, and we have a 5-man team this week. We are, of course, joined by Julian, the admin, Marcus Almighty, Ken, 69th Blizzard, and joining the podcast for the first time in months is Andrew from Mr. Speed, alivecatman on board. Andrew, welcome back.
It's good to be back.
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah. Anybody that knows me knows I've been real busy, so I'm really happy to be back and back with you guys talking Kiss.
Cool. We are glad to have you back. Great addition. So today on the show, we are talking first kisses. And no, we're not talking about Andrew's makeout sessions in junior high school. We are talking about...
Much later than that.
Yeah. There's an after show we'll talk about. But we are talking first kisses, first experiences with the band, whether it be your first concert, whether it be your first CD, and we'll get into those different topics. Before we get started, though, there's on the topic, there's a great unauthorized biography of Kiss called Black Diamond by Dale Sherman, and he ends the book with a great paragraph that I refer back to a lot. It's fantastic. And since we're talking first kisses, I'm going to read this last paragraph of Dale's book. And he says, in a sense, Kiss really did end up being the embodiment of their stage name. In everyone's life, there comes that first kiss, full of passion, innocence, danger, and excitement. As life goes on, things may change and kisses may become bitter, but there will always remain the memory of that first one. Kiss may continue into the future in one form or another. Perhaps also in the end it will matter little. Like the memory of a first kiss, nothing that comes after will ever take its place. And for me, that really rings true for the first time I saw the band. And I sat up in the rafters, and I still think of that show as the greatest Kiss show I ever saw, just because it just struck me so much, and it just literally changed my life. And I think a lot of Kiss fans can say that too. Like the first time they saw the band, it really changed their life. So let's talk about that first kiss, the first time you saw the band in concert. So Andrew, you're back. I'm going to let you lead things off. But
Cool.
The first time you saw Kiss in concert.
This was a great, and remember, I'm a little younger than some of you guys, so I didn't get to experience my first Kiss concert until '96. I saw my very first show was New Year's Eve, 96-97, at the old Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And this concert's special to me. It's really cool that I have the video and I'm able to kind of look back and kind of remember it that way. But what was so cool about it is I was 11 at the time, and my Kiss fandom was just being sent to overload because of the reunion tour. Because obviously there really wasn't an internet back then. There really wasn't anything going on back then. So when I first heard about Kiss, they were on The Simpsons giving away tickets to the to Tiger Stadium. And I just had thought this band still exists because, I had the Kiss Meet the Phantom and I had this. So anyway, fast forward to finding out that they're coming to the Meadowlands on New Year's Eve. I always couldn't get tickets to the Garden that summer because I was still 10 years old, so I couldn't go. But anyway, by the time the New Year's Eve show came up, I heard about it and I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, can we go? And the stars just perfectly aligned because she opened up the newspaper that day to look to see if there were tickets on sale. I mean, who still does that? Opened the newspaper and it said, Kiss tickets, face value. And they happened to be 2 towns over from me. And I was like, Mom, it's the face value. Like, we have to go. We have to get them. So I begged her. She goes, okay, all right, we'll do this. And it was 3 days before the show. 3 days before the show, we found these tickets. And we get the tickets, and I was so happy. And I remember, it's funny what we remember about these things. I remember driving to this guy's house, and No Doubt was huge at the time. And I remember Don't Speak was on the radio, and I was like, I kind of like this song. But I always remember that. I don't know why I remember that. But anyway, fast forward to the show. it was New Year's Eve, and it was a really, really cold New Year's Eve. And anybody that went to the show knows that there was something wrong with inside the venue, and the doors didn't open on time. So we all had to wait out freezing cold on New Year's Eve. So they finally usher us in, and I don't know, I had gotten in, and by the time I got up to the merch booth, the event shirt was sold out. And I was so disappointed. I got a poster that night, but I always wanted an event shirt. Anyway, fast forward to the show. I watched the show, and it literally changed my life. And I just remember I couldn't believe that this band that I was listening to on cassette at the time, because I didn't have a CD player yet, listening to on cassette and watching this VHS tape and looking at these magazines, looking at Entertainment Weekly or whatever, I couldn't believe that I was seeing this band. And I was just starstruck, and I couldn't believe that I was doing that. And of course, I didn't know all the songs as well as I do now, but and I'm like, man, why is Ace playing guitar solo so long? And why is Peter doing it? I didn't understand, because, my reference to that point was Alive and Alive 2, so they didn't have those long things there. So that show absolutely changed my life, because it was the first time I saw Kiss, and my mom took me. Like, how cool is that? Some people's mothers or parents, they were like, Kiss, what are you doing? But my mother was like, you like Kiss? All right, we're going. So, I still look back on that memory fondly to this day. And anybody that's friends with me on Facebook, and if I haven't had you, I'm sorry. I have so many friend requests. If
Hashtag blessed.
If you message me and tell me who you are and that you're going to add me, I will add you back. I promise. But anybody that has me on Facebook knows that every New Year's Eve I post about this, and I want to hear other people's thoughts about the show. And just as a little side note, a few years later, someone in the FAQ board, I can't remember your username, they sold me an event shirt, and I was really happy to finally have one. So that's my first Kiss show, December 31st, 1996.
Very nice. Very nice. It's awesome. So you saw him on the reunion tour, but Ken, you saw him. I'm not trying to play out the age thing that Andy pointed out, but Ken,
yeah.
I consider Ken lucky though, because he got to see him on tours that I wish I would have got to see him on. So, Ken, what was your first show?
Well, the first show was this Dynasty.
Oh, that's
awesome.
So I remember I just missed it. I was just getting into Kiss in '77, and I think they already passed through San Francisco area by the time I was starting to get into them. So I had to wait a little while for them to come around next time. But I do remember I was so excited. I was like sick to my stomach. I was so excited about it. I swear. And it was also, besides it being my first Kiss concert, it was the first time I drove from the East Bay into San Francisco on my own, all the way to the Cow Palace where they played. And I do remember it was all drizzly and everything at the concert. I remember getting in line, and the doors weren't open, kind of like Andrew, the doors weren't open yet or whatever. And I remember the line it went all the way around the building, the Cow Palace, to the back side. And I'm like, holy cow, did we come here late or what? But a lot of people came there. I mean, I was there early, but waited a long time, got in there, got on the floor area of the Cow Palace, and it was just like, just all keyed up, waiting for them to, come on. And then, the starting of the thing where the fog is there, and then yeah, the sound. I mean, that was so, it's like statue, superhero, ish thing, and it was just so cool. And after that, I tell you, I remember some things, but most of it is like a blur to me. I know it was good. I was excited. I was so excited. It was just, overload. And I've told you about the end of that show, and where I got the sponges that came out of the disco ball and that sort of thing.
Do you have any extras?
I do.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Okay.
Yeah, they're mint in box, aren't they, Ken?
What?
Mint in box.
Yeah, mint in box. Right. I didn't tell you if I washed my dishes with them though or anything, but. Anyway,
doesn't matter.
I'm
It's still a sponge.
Andrew's not picky.
I'm not picky.
So that was the first time, and it was quite an experience. Like I said, it was a blur. I do remember certain things about it, but for the most part, it was just a blur. But I was so excited. Like I said, I was sick to my stomach before the show, before even driving there. It was crazy, but it was good.
That's awesome. Saw him in '79, and I mean, not only did you get to see them in '79, but then you saw Creatures Tour and you saw all those great tours, that a lot of us missed out on. So I'm jealous of all the shows that Ken's seen. So. Mark, what about you? What was your first Kiss concert? Your first experience seeing the band live?
Well, I had a chance. I think I mentioned this in one of the prior episodes, but I had a chance to see them on the Asylum tour. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to that show. And also, I had a chance to see them for Hot in the Shade, and I don't think I was in the country at that point when they came by, so I missed that. So, like Andrew, my first show was the reunion, 1990. They came to Toronto, August 6th at the Sky Dome. Quite the experience too, because they had those huge inflatables and stuff like that inside, and it was nuts. Like in Toronto, they were hyping it for quite a while here, and all kinds of contests, and the radio station here, which normally never played Kiss ever here, started playing them almost daily for like the month before the concert. And it was a big thing. I mean, Sky Dome holds probably about close to 60,000 people, I think, and they used pretty much not the whole thing, but they used at least more than half of it for the show. It was a pretty big turnout for that. And I remember just like most other people when they see them the first time, it was the experience of that low droning intro, and the whole "All right, Toronto, are you ready?" For the whole Kiss thing intro there, and it was great. I mean, I thought they played really well. I mean, I remember I went with my band at that time, and my drummer, who was like Mr. Neil Peart and those kind of drummers, he was actually, I remember he told me at the end of the show, he was actually surprised at how good Peter Criss was, because he used to think that he was brutal, like compared to the drummers that he liked, right? And he thought that he was pretty solid. He goes, wow, I was impressed. He thought that he was the best guy that night. So that was, they won over some people that night, I think, too, because they played really good. I think that they were jiving by that point when they came to Toronto, and they were firing on all cylinders. And I think I was lucky to see that, because I know that later on that wasn't the case, as many of us know, that they started, going a little downhill there later on. But it was a great show, and I thoroughly remember that show like it was yesterday. It was a great show, and it'll be firmly etched in my mind for the rest of my life. That's for sure.
Hey, let's make everybody feel old. The reunion tour was 20 years ago next year. 20 years since they came back. Holy crap.
That really is. I mean, you believe they've had the makeup back on for 20 years?
They've had the makeup on the second time longer than the first time.
Yeah. And the current formation of the band is longer than any other formation.
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it?
Which is pretty crazy, too. So, Julian, I know your first Kiss concert is, everybody's going to think we're like really, even though like Andrew's first Kiss concert was 19 years ago and Mark's was 19 years ago, it seems like, they're still new to the game, though, even though you saw them for the first time 19 years ago. But, Julian, talk to us about your first.
Yeah, mine's even more recent than that. Obviously, I lived all over the world, so I was often in the wrong country at the wrong time, and I would miss the band. I'd be in England at the time that they were touring the U.S., or in the U.S. when they were touring England, and I'd just overlap. So I had tickets to Wembley in '96, but I drank my travel money, so I wasn't able to go to that. And then I had tickets. Then I had tickets to Finsbury Park in '97, and I'm driving down the hill from my house, and my car breaks down on the way to that. So I finally get to see them, Dodger Stadium, 1998, and I've still got the where is it? The gig concert shirt from that, which I haven't worn in probably 15 years. So I finally got to do that, and that was a bit of a big deal, because I had to fly from, Andrew, the video is probably not even on you when you just did that.
It's okay. I'll do it again.
So I got to fly down from San Francisco to see see the band, met up with a whole bunch of other fans, and drove up the hill to that horrible, horrible stadium. As a San Francisco Giants baseball fan, it was really a matter of walking into enemy territory. And if I recall correctly, there were actually people throwing rocks at the car that we were driving in as we were going up the hill. So obviously there weren't Kiss fans who lived there. As for the show, obviously it was the first show of the Psycho Circus era, so the first reunion studio album. And it was also a fantastic set list that most of the other people didn't get on that tour. Nothing to Lose and She, and the debut of Psycho Circus, Within and Into the Void. So from that perspective, it was really cool. How much of the show did I actually see? I couldn't see fuck all. My seats were so bad that someone told me later that, Smashing Pumpkins, who I couldn't give two shits about, were dressed up like the Beatles. I'm like, oh, they were? I couldn't see them from where I was. I was actually closer to the actual Psycho Circus part of they were in, I think, home base, doing their stupid riding motorcycles in metal cages and all that shit. That didn't work out. But it was cool to see and experience from that perspective. So that one show where they actually had the Psycho Circus, it was very obvious why they didn't bring those bozos on tour, because it just did not work, as silly as Kiss may try and be with some of their ideas. The concert, just fantastic memory of finally getting to see the frickin' band that I liked so much for so many years by that time. So the first of many. I've played catch up ever since, so it was a glorious first Kiss.
That's awesome. It's a landmark show too that everybody talks about. It's at Dodger Stadium show. So that's a cool one to say it was your first.
From that era, there aren't many landmark shows. I mean, if everyone who say they went to the Tiger Stadium show actually did, it would have been overflowing to the point of not being able to get any band in.
Everyone I know says they were at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, that's one of the probably.
I wanted to go so bad.
Yeah, who wouldn't? I mean, Detroit, Kiss, first show at the reunion, see if the wheels fall off or whatever. That would have been the show to go to, or Columbus, Georgia, the following year when Peter was replaced for the first time. Those are the only two I really think of that era, along with Dodger Stadium, that really mean a whole lot.
The Madison Square Garden shows meant a whole lot too, because being a New York band, there was so much energy. And I was on another podcast last night talking about those shows, how those shows kind of shaped Kiss fans in that tri-state area for years to come. The electricity in those four shows permeated until maybe 2003, 2004, when the interest kind of waned for the band.
Yeah, I agree actually about that, because I was in New York City at that time when they were there, and everywhere I went, down every street in New York, there was nothing but them talking about Kiss, and it was like on every single billboard you could see was Kiss. They were like really, really hyping that over the top at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was still like a month into the reunion tour, and the hype was really at an all-time high at that point when they
four shows at the Garden.
4 straight shows, and just
you know what, they'd finally managed to do 4 shows at Madison Square Garden. They had to pull all their dates in '79 when I think they had 5 dates on the original tour book that they wanted to do, but they only ended up doing 2. So that was massive for the band. So glad they got to do that.
Absolutely. Well, my first Kiss show was actually the reunion tour also. I've told the story that I was supposed to go see him on the Revenge tour, and I got grounded and couldn't go. And then just spend $100 to see him in '95 on the convention tour at 15 years old was just too much money in that era. And you think, I mean, $100 in '95 when you're 15 years old was a hell of a lot of money, and it just wasn't possible, much less to find someone else to go with me to spend $100 to go see Kiss, because Kiss was not cool in '95 at all. So my first Kiss show was July 2nd, 1996, the 3rd show of the reunion tour. And I remember getting tickets went on sale on a Friday afternoon, like at 5 o'clock. And Detroit had already sold out like in 45 minutes. So my brother and I knew that it's going to be a struggle just to get tickets. So this is pre-internet. You had to go get your tickets when they went on sale. You couldn't just log on your computer at 5 o'clock when tickets went on sale. And they didn't have all these pre-sales and all this other crap like they have now. Tickets went on sale. So they used to do line tickets. So to keep people from hanging out outside of the department store where we'd get our tickets close to our house, they used to give out line tickets. So every day that week, my brother and I, we would like take turns. One of us would go get a line ticket. And then at like 4:55 or 4:50 or whatever, 10 minutes before tickets go on sale, they'd draw a ticket and they'd line you up according to which ticket they draw and line you up that way. So we had like 10 line tickets between the two of us, like, okay, we're going to get, we just wanted to make sure we got tickets. It's the most important thing. We didn't care where we sat. We just had to make sure we got in the door. And they drew the ticket and we lined up and we're looking at where we're at compared to, and I've never seen so many, I'd been to a lot of concerts at that point in my life. I'd never seen so many people there for an on sale date ever. And I mean, and we had seen Metallica, we had seen, quite other few bands that were big at the time, but I'd never seen that many people lined up for shows. And we're like, holy shit, it was unbelievable. So after they drew the line ticket, we're like, all right, we're figuring out where we're at. We should be okay. And we're waiting and waiting. And we get up there and we get our tickets. And we're in section like 303 up top, like on Ace's side of the stage. And like, it's fine, we're in. And I remember getting our tickets and walking out of the department store back to our car, and all the people still in line behind us. And we're like, these guys aren't getting tickets. They're not getting tickets because we're already up top. I mean, the floor's gone, the lower bowl's gone, we're in the upper bowl. I mean, it's almost gone. And if come to find out, that show sold out like in 30 minutes. It was just like that, just gone. And you think about those shows selling out that fast. Like I said, there was no internet. These are all people standing in line, getting their tickets from a customer service rep. They're going, and they were still going that fast. It's really unbelievable. So that's my first show. And I remember too, like you guys were saying about Kiss being on the radio that day. And I remember driving to the show, and I was listening to the rock station in St. Louis, and you're like, yeah, it's like an unofficial Kiss day around here. And like, they're playing like Strutter on the way there. And I'd never heard Strutter on the radio ever prior to then. And I don't think ever since then I've ever heard Strutter on that radio station, And I remember getting there and walking up to the venue, and they had merchandise booths set up outside. And I told my brother, no, we got to go to the merchandise booth right here outside. And he's like, no, there'll be other booths inside. I'm like, no, we got to go to the one right here. I got to make sure I get what I want to get. So, and being in there, the concert itself, I remember when they played Won't Get Fooled Again. Now they play different songs before they come on, but I remember them playing Won't Get Fooled Again and the curtain coming down, and you could just feel the electricity and the energy of that crowd waiting to see Kiss finally in makeup for the first time in 17 years. And I've never experienced a concert before or after with that much energy from the crowd waiting for the headliner to come on. It was the anticipation was just phenomenal. And when that curtain dropped and they dropped in the deuce, and it was so freaking loud, and it was just unbelievable. It was just, and I remember they did 100,000 Years, and the flash pots go up. And even though we were so up high, you could feel the heat from those flash pots way up high. I was like, looked at my brother, and I'm like, can you imagine how hot those things are down there if we can feel them from way up here? And I was 16 years old at the time, and I was really a depressed kid at the time. It was the summer between my junior year and senior year in high school, and my girlfriend had broken up with me like in June, like a month before the show, and I was really kind of depressed and sad. And that concert like revitalized me and like gave me something to live for, and it's always been Kiss ever since then. It's like whenever I'm down, they always pull me up, and other difficult times in my life, it's like things it's that has pulled me through. So that concert just really just changed my life and just sent me into, like Andrew said, just an overboard Kiss fandom ever since then, and it really did change my life. So I think the first time we've seen the band, we've all experienced it, that it was just mind blowing. And obviously we're sitting here doing a Kiss podcast, so obviously it did do something to us.
I actually want to share one more quick Kiss concert story, and I guess we could label it as a first. But it was the first time I was ever in the front row, and It was
Yeah.
in what was the name of the city? It was in Nagoya, Japan. So I did the Rising Sun tour of Japan in 2006. I went to all the shows on that tour. And at the time, I kind of had an in, and I was able to get closer to the band than maybe some other people have. So staying at the same hotels, seeing the band, and being on a first name basis with members of the band, and it was a really, really cool time for me. So I had already spent, I think, 2 days in Japan before the show. So I had seen the band, and we were joking around or whatever have you. But when it came time to the show, I think originally I was sitting a little bit farther back, but then a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you want to sit in the front row?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I just want to sit in the front row." So he pulled me in, and he sits and he goes, "Stay there." And I just remember the lights went down and someone was tapping me and they were trying to move me. My friend goes, "No, no, 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 he's good." And they left me alone for the rest of the show. So when I was in the front, and I remember the curtain drops and they opened up with Detroit Rock City, and I started crying. Like it wasn't even like just like one tear. It was kind of like, "Oh, I'm so happy." I just couldn't. And I have pictures of this too because, I had known people who were in the photo. They would take pictures. They would look over at me and they would be taking pictures of the band, and they would be like, so they would because. So
Look at him. He's crying like a little girl. Let's take a picture of him.
Yeah. So then the funniest part, I think like 5 or 6 songs in, they played "Got to Choose," which was my favorite Kiss song. And at the time, they had just started playing that song again. So I was just like, right, and I just started crying again. And I remember Tommy came over, and he's playing. He looks over at me, and he starts laughing a little bit. He motions over to Paul. And he goes, "Look, he's crying," and they started laughing at me for crying. And I was like, you know. So then the next day, I had to like explain myself. I was like, "You don't understand." I'm like, I'm in the front row, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
No, we understand, all right. You're a real Nancy boy.
And you know what? And and every time since then, like every time the first song, I kind of get that. Oh, I'm so happy! It's the best. This is the best. So, but I just remember that first time because that was the first time I actually it was like. I couldn't. I was crying so hard I couldn't even. I just was like, I can't believe it. And I'll just send you the picture of those because you could clearly see that I was crying the whole time. But it was one of the best nights of my life. It really was.
Absolutely. What about you guys? Anybody else ever sat in the front row? Anybody else have like a first front row show experience like that?
Yeah, first and only front row show, Sacramento Valley on the farewell tour. And yeah, it's kind of an experience, and I can understand where Andrew's coming from on there, because you're there, and all of a sudden you're really looking up, and I mean, you're straining your neck up front a little bit, and these guys really do appear larger than life when they're on stage there, and when the flash pots go off and the flames go, I mean, you're feeling like you're opening a barbecue, and it's just so impressive. You just haven't lived unless you've seen a band front row, and a band that you love and really have an emotional connection with. That was just absolutely amazing. And, I'm very fortunate, I guess, that, my front row experience was the originals, because that to me is, I've been up close at other shows, but that was just something very special. Even more so that it was unexpected. I showed up to that show, had no idea where I'd be sitting, and boom, amazing.
It's pretty cool. I talked last week when I got that Blood Cup in Milwaukee in 2009. I was sitting in the front row for that, and that was the first time I've been in the front row. That was, and like I said, I was talking last week that there's hardly even any barricade. You could almost just reach out and touch Gene's bass, and I was like, you know what, I might sit in the front row. At that point, I was like, you know what, I might sit in the front row again, and I have since then, but I'll probably never be this kind of front row where you're that physically close to the band. It was surreal. I sat in the third row once on this is funny. In 2004, they did the Rock the Nation tour, and my brother and I bought the meet and greet package, and our package had us sitting in the third row. And my brother looks at me, and he's a fan, but he's not as big of a nutcase as I am. And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, Lonnie, we spent $1,000 and we're sitting in the third row. What the fuck do we have to do to sit in the front row?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, Todd." And there's no one sitting in the front row. Absolutely no one. And we're like, what the hell?
It's reserved for all the whores.
And one by one, you see a road manager bring down girls and put them in the front row. And he goes, just because I don't have a set of tits and I paid $1,000, I can't sit in the front row.
I did the platinum ticket on the Rock the Nation tour as well too, and I was in the second row, and I was right in the center on the aisle. And the show that I was at, there wasn't a photo pit, so all those photographers were in the aisle, and they were like slamming the camera, over my shoulder. So I dealt with it for one song, and then like I'm looking over, and I'm like, this isn't how it's gonna be. So I had my hands up, and I was even talking, like, bam, and I was hitting them, and I was literally smashing the cameras, and they were yelling. I go, dude, I paid $1,000. Get away from me! And one by one, they all left. All of them left, and no repercussions.
You didn't get thrown out of the show for beating.
No. And had I gotten thrown out of the show, it was at that time where I was kind of really getting in with knowing members of the band and the crew. So had I gotten thrown out of the show, I would have been fortunate enough to be able to come back in, or I would have remedied the experience. But at that time,
take care of you.
Yeah. At the time, I was like, nobody is ruining this for me. I spent $1,000. Nobody's ruining this for me.
That's pretty good too. All right.
Hey, before you start your second question, I want to do a safety stop and start on the record. All right, continue.
So, our second topic today on First Kisses is, what's the first Kiss album you ever had? Maybe not the first one you bought. We might get into that in a little bit. But what's the first one? It might be the same, but what's the first Kiss album you ever had? What's that first album that you just played over and over and over again and just propelled your fandom? Ken, let's start with you, since I like picking on you and starting with you.
Yeah. The first, and I've told this before, the first album was Alive 2. And I did buy it with my own money, actually. And I remember riding my bike about a couple mile or two down to a drugstore. And we went in there, and they had usually drugstores had a smaller record kind of section, vinyl and so on. And I saw Alive 2 there, and this is shortly after my friend who had just played me Rock and Roll Over. But they didn't have Rock and Roll Over there, but I saw, this is Alive 2. This is, brand new. It has the Calling Dr. Love song I heard. I'm like, okay, I got to get this. So I picked it up, and we went back. What I remember, what's funny about it, when I got home, I walk in and I showed my mom. I said, look at this. Look at this guy. He has blood coming out of his mouth. And she was like, no big deal. She was cool about it. She was like, I don't know. She let me listen to whatever I wanted, and which was cool. But that was the first album I played over and over. You open it, the big opening of the gatefold, and that great picture in the middle there. But then the booklet, I'd be listening to it and just staring at the booklet and so on. And you got the tattoos, but that's the first one, and I bought it myself. I still have it.
Did you use the tattoos when you were young? Did you?
You
know
what? I think yeah. I think I did.
Say something, Andrew. You're on camera pointing at it.
Oh, well, yeah. My tattoo is I actually took the Alive 2 tattoo and got it tattooed on me.
Yep, that's one of them. So, yeah, I did. I was, not thinking about collecting at the time, like we've talked about in the prior episode. I cut up a couple. I think I used a couple of the tattoos. Yeah. But fortunately, later on, I bought like the red vinyl Alive 2 and so on. And it has the tattoos in the booklet. So I was like, okay, I have a pristine copy of the tattoos.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like, that's your first Kiss album is Alive 2, and you open up that gatefold, and there it is. You probably like there it is. Draw like hips.
There are the tattoos, and here's my Kiss Alive 2.
There it is.
And the booklet's in there, and the order form.
Is that Andrew? Is that the misprint?
No, I don't have one.
You guys are totally nerding out.
Julian probably has one.
Oh, I'll sell you one.
Yeah? Hold on one sec, guys.
Lots of dollars, though.
First time I saw Andrew, actually, he was playing with a different Kiss tribute band, and this was several years ago, and he had the tattoo, and Andrew was really, this is several years ago, so Andrew was like really young at the time, and I looked at my buddy and I go,
Jesus, he still is really young.
And we go, They go, look how young that Peter Criss is. I go, Peter Criss was never that young.
That's right. He was never.
Sorry about that.
I was telling about the first time I saw you at Pop Sander, and
with Strutter.
And when you were a Strutter, and I looked at, and my buddy goes, we're talking about you, and I hadn't even met you at the time yet. It was the first time I'd ever seen you, and we noticed that you had the tattoo and that. And we're like, look how young that Peter Criss is. Peter Criss was never that young. So.
Well, you put on the makeup and it adds 30 years to me. So there you go. Anyway, who's got a copy of Alive 2 misprint they want to sell me? Just stop the bullshit and just sell me a goddamn copy of that. Because you know what makes me so mad?
This is a Kiss Trader podcast.
Well, you know what makes me so mad? It's people, they post pictures. They go, look, I got 3. I go, well, sell me one. I'll pay you. Yeah, I don't want it for free. I will pay. Do you know how many copies of Alive 2 I had to look at? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I do, because I've been there.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Andrew, I was going to ask you. You say, sell me a copy of the Alive 2 misprint. I'm like, which one? The U.S. or the Mexican?
U.S.
Yeah.
I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't want, you know what? And I was talking about this the other day. I don't care about other countries. I really don't. I want just a U.S.
You're
print.
just a stuck-up American.
I'm not stuck up. I'm just saying this is what I like.
Okay, no más Mexico.
All right. First kiss album you ever had. Andrew, you're dominating the show. You're having
sorry about that.
You're having a great day, so go ahead.
Personality. Sorry about that. At least I'm funny and cute. But
well, that's true.
Actually, this is a really hard question to answer because my older sister and older brother at the time had them all on vinyl and cassette because they were around when they were new. And I think, I'm not even sure, but I think the first album that was actually mine was a cassette of the 85 Creatures with the non-makeup cover, which I still have. And I think that was my first one, but then I think the first one that I actually owned that was mine and not a hand-me-down was You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best. Because around the reunion tour, when that was coming out, I heard about it and I knew it was coming out, and I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, can you get this for me? And she was like, sure, no problem. This will be your, I think that was my very first Kiss album, was that. But I had other Kiss albums that I kind of borrowed, never gave back. Or, someone's like, oh, I have this. This was, in a pile of junk, so you can have this. And I remember that Christmas that I had asked for Alive and Alive 2 on CD. And it was, I don't know if the remasters were out yet. That might have been the following Christmas where I got the remasters.
97 remasters.
Yeah. So it might have been the following year that I actually got the actual CDs. But I had the vinyl, so I kind of spoiled myself. I was listening to the vinyl and I was just getting it on CD. But in short, I think, and this is a tough one, I think the first album was You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best. But I had other albums before that were just borrowed and stolen or whatever have you.
Right. That's cool. Mark, I think we're boring you. What was your first?
Oh, sorry. So my first record I got it for Christmas when I was like 14 years old. My older sister, she's like 7 years older than I am, and she was into Kiss, I think, since they like started, and she was always telling me, yeah, you gotta get into this band, and I think I was just getting into music in general a few years before that, and I was really big into Sabbath and Rush and stuff like that. But she kept telling me, you got to check out Kiss. You got to check out Kiss. So, of course, she bought me Alive 1 for Christmas on vinyl. And I was like, okay. So I remember when I first opened it and, they had the pictures and the notes and, the notes from each band member and stuff like that. And I always thought that was sort of odd. I'd never seen something like that before because I hadn't really, I didn't know too much about Kiss at that point. So I remember putting it on, and the greatest thing I ever did, I think, as far as getting into Kiss was when I bought that record, I went into my room, I put on those huge over-the-ear headphones, and I cranked it, yeah, just like yours there, Julian, and cranked it and listened to the whole record like that and really felt that you were, like, almost in the audience. Like, that's how well Kramer did the whole production with that record. It's just, you really felt like you were sitting in the audience there, and whenever the bombs went off, you almost, could almost feel it, that you were like in the same room with them and the smoke and all that stuff. It was really great. I mean, I've always said Alive 1 and All the World's a Stage by Rush are my 2 favorite live albums of all time. And they're for the same reason, because they just seem to put you in the like it almost feels like you're sitting in the arena with them when they're playing. And I've always thought that that's the sign of a really great live album. And obviously, Kiss Alive 1 is one that's right up there for possibly the one of the greatest live albums of all time.
Absolutely. Alive, that's a cool one to be your first album. Put on the headphones, and it's the trademark of Alive, make you feel like you're in the audience. So. Julian, this is a good question for you. This might be a burning question on the FAQ. Is what was Julian's first Kiss record?
Julian's not even a Kiss fan. He doesn't even own any of the albums. He just runs the FAQ.
Yeah, that's almost tempting to say. Yeah, And when I answer the question with what my first Kiss album was, I mean, I've answered it on several other episodes, so it's not going to come as a surprise to many people. Asylum, December 1985. Right after becoming a fan, I went.
I was born.
I got some money for my birthday and straight down to Kmart on my bicycle, slipping and sliding in Binghamton. Bought it and Motley Crue's Theater of Pain at the same time, and those are my first two heavy metal albums. And I absolutely played the shit out of Asylum, and I still will to this day. I can't get the images out of my head. Whenever I play it, I have Paul Stanley's freaking fingers doing those stupid things. Yes. And Paul and Bruce falling over. So obviously, I'm very tied up with the videos that were in high rotation on MTV at the time, visually. But that was it. First album. Oh, you've even got a sticker on the cover.
Yes, I do. The hype sticker.
Yeah, I would get my copy out. It's right behind me. It's a promo. But
well, I'm kind of like Andrew in that my older brother had Kiss cassettes. He had Destroyer, and he had an original Creatures of the Night cassette with the original cover on it. And I remember years later when I saw the 85, I was like, what is this? That's not Creatures of the Night. Creatures of the Night's the other cover. But the first Kiss album that I had was Animalize on cassette, of course. And Andrew's going to show off Animalize because we don't know what it looks like.
And it's still sealed. It's still sealed.
And that's the best way for Animalize to be.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Such a great album.
But I bet I did. I played the shit out of Animalize on cassette, and I wore out the cassette. I played it so much. And I think I've told the story here that, my mom was not really on board with my Kiss fandom, especially at a young age. And when you opened up the cassette, it had the picture of the band standing on that stream of fire or whatever. And Mom thought they were satanic, and she did not approve. So she confiscated that and told me that the dog ate my album cover. But first album, but then the first album I ever bought, and I was pretty young. I was maybe 5 or 6, I guess, when I got that Animalized. But the first album I ever bought with my own money was Revenge in '92. So, and that, stop laughing at me, Mark. And again, that album was kind of like, I compared that to
Shit.
The reunion show. I'm just gonna ignore you guys so I can tell my story. And
story of my life.
And that album is kind of like the first Kiss show I ever saw. It just kind of propelled me into a higher state of Kiss fandom after I got Revenge and seeing the band kind of rejuvenated with the new look and then kind of a much different sound than they had been releasing in previous years. So and I talk about Revenge on here all the time. People are probably tired of me talking about it, but that's an album that just always stuck with me because it's the first time I ever bought with my own money, and it's just propelled me in a higher state. And you guys, I think most of you guys have said that the first time you ever had was actually the first time you ever bought with your own money. So, well, Mark, what about you then? Sorry.
Well, the first one I ever bought with my own cash actually was Lick It Up. After I got into the whole Alive thing there, I think my sister bought me one other record. I think it was Destroyer she got me. And so I enjoyed that one too. And then I remember later on when I was starting to get more and more into it, I saw on MTV and Much Music here in Canada, they were starting to play a lot of Kiss videos, and for some reason I had seen Lick It Up, and I just wanted to grab that album because at that point I hadn't really heard that material too much, so I went out and bought that one with my own cash. I remember I think that was one of the summers I had some full-time summer job, and I grabbed that, and I grabbed a bunch of other ones, but that was actually my first actual purchase of my own cash, was Lick It Up, and I didn't regret it. It's not my favorite Kiss album, but it's definitely not my least favorite, so I really thought it was a purchase well made.
Very nice. Julian's left the show, but we're going to continue on. What about this? What about the first Kiss band member you ever met? And a lot of people say, well, don't meet your idols because it might change your opinion of them in a bad way, especially obviously if you have a bad experience. But the first time you met a Kiss band member, did you meet the whole band at once? Did you meet one of them individually? And did it make you feel different about that person after you met them? Julian, let's go with you first.
First Kiss member I met would be Bruce Kulick, and this was at the Indie Expo in, was it 99 or 2000? I can't remember which, one of the two. And I actually interviewed him in his hotel room there, so got to spend some quality time with Bruce, and he was just awesome. Number one, I was doing one of my first interviews for the website with anyone who mattered in person, but he was just so awesomely positive about everything. If I said anything that could be construed as being slightly negative, a dig on Kiss at that point, even though he'd left the band, he would always bring it back around to a very positive answer, and he was very defensive of the band still. And, it was just a great experience to meet someone, number one, who's just so damn nice. I don't think you could ask for better.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone ever say that they met Bruce Kulick and it wasn't a positive experience. I think he is one of the nicest and most down-to-earth people you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard stories about, I met Ace and he didn't sign my whatever, and Peter, he was a dick when I met him. But I've never ever heard anyone talk about Bruce Kulick and say it wasn't a positive experience.
I've heard horror stories from people. I mean, I was on a podcast for 3 hours the other night, and wow, the story of someone else's first meeting of the band, and it was all four of them at once, was so negative and so depressing that, it must really kill people when they catch any of these guys on a bad day and do have a negative interaction. I mean, I've met, I think, pretty much everyone except for Vinny and our deceased members of the band, and all of them have been absolutely awesome as people, whether I'm on the periphery of things going around and it's just a casual hi, or, in the meet and greets. They better be nice because obviously people are paying for meet and greets. So I really kind of discount those meetings. But, Bruce, you just can't come up with the superlatives that really do that guy justice. He's awesome.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Mark, what about you?
Well, I'm going to have to agree with Julian there. I go to the NAMM show every year because, like I said before, I got a few guitar endorsement deals, and as part of it, I get passes to go to the NAMM show in California. And what I love about that is that because it's not open to the public, it's only open to musicians who have some sort of deal with a company. You don't have the people that go there, the musicians themselves, don't feel, like they have to hide themselves because they don't have those people running out to, oh my God, like trying to get autographs. It's always just people on the level that are musicians like they are. So you can meet everybody. I met everybody from John Petrucci to Alan White to all kinds of people there. And my favorite Kiss person that I've met, and my first one I've actually met, is Bruce Kulick. And I'll never forget, I met him at the ESP booth, and we started talking about guitars, and his girlfriend at the time was there with him, and she was the one right away who was like, hey, you want to get a picture with Bruce? And I was like, yeah, sure. I gave him my camera and got a picture with him, and he actually took the time to sit and talk about guitars and all kinds of other stuff. It wasn't even about Kiss, it was just about music in general, and he was a really, really nice guy. I mean, the only other guy that I've ever saw that was like that as well was Nico McBrain of Iron Maiden, and as long as you didn't talk about Iron Maiden, he was cool, because I think he's so sick of talking about that stuff that when you catch these guys at these kind of shows, the best trick to do is not talk about their band, because they'd rather talk to you about anything else but that at that point, because they're enough as it is to kind of, do a promotional thing for the company that they're involved with. So, just talking to them about anything else is probably on their menu a lot better than talking about the band. But yeah, Bruce is awesome, great guy. Every time I've went to NAMM, I've always had a chance to go by and say, hey, how's it going, and talk to him. And he's really easy to talk to and to get along with, and I don't think I have a bad thing I could ever say about that guy. He's a really cool guy.
Absolutely. Andrew, let's hear from you.
I can't remember if it was Bruce or Mark St. John that I met first, and they were both at the old Rothman Center, East Rutherford, New Jersey Kiss conventions of the late 90s. I can't remember. I can't remember which one I met first. I was supposed to meet Ace first because I went to the same New York convention in 92 or 93 where Ace was the guest, and that band Firehouse was huge at the time, and they showed up, and it was mayhem, and I was a little kid, so my dad was like, we got to go. We got to get out of here. So we left, and I never got to meet Ace. So I think the actual first member was either Mark St. John or it was Bruce. And because I was really young at the time, I was 12 or 13, somewhere around there, and I didn't really understand the significance of meeting either one of those. I got Mark to sign another Animalize record that I have, and I got Bruce to sign something. I don't remember what I haven't signed. I have so many Bruce autographs now. But they were both real nice, and those are both really uneventful. The first eventful meeting was January 9th, 2000, at the New York Custom Guitar Show, where I met both Ace and Paul on the same day. And I had met Paul, and I was 14, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting Paul Stanley. He signed my first album, and he couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been nicer. And since then, I've had several run-ins with the band. Lonnie, you were there at the Indie Expo, and Eric picked on me.
Eric likes to pick on Andrew.
Literally all day.
It's hilarious.
And it wasn't like, I'm not exaggerating. It was literally all day. I had to MC the event, and literally all day I'd be MCing, and Eric would be like, "Shut up!" just yelling at me. And
Andrew just likes to hear himself talk.
And it wasn't even like that. And it was like, and it was to the point where like Eric's sister was saying, "I'm so sorry, my brother's a dick." I'm like, "No, it's cool. We're cool. We're cool." So, and but it was literally the whole day. Anyway, I got on a sidetrack, but it was either Bruce or Mark St. John. Both were very nice. I just can't remember which came first.
Ken, what about you?
Well, my first time, actually, it's the only time, was the kind of the meet and greet, Alive 3 signing that they had out here, and it was like meeting them all at the same time. They were big long line of us getting in line and they were four of them were behind a table, and I think the first one I shook hand with was Paul Stanley. I do remember that. I think it was Paul, then it went to Bruce, and then it went to Gene, and then it went to Eric. But I think the longest I talked to anyone, because they were just in and out. Let's get you guys out of here. I talked to Eric Singer the longest for a short period, but it was cool. They were all, it wasn't long enough to get much of a feeling but they were all cordial and nice to everyone that I saw before me and after me. But I'm looking forward to. I think the next time they come around to doing the meet and greet package, which I haven't done. So I'm going to go for that.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
You should really do it.
I'll see you there.
You should do it. It's fantastic.
You should do it. I was lucky enough to be able to attend the last time they were in Toronto. I attended the meet and greet there. So I got to go to the acoustic set, and it's literally so cool. It's so cool to the intimate acoustic set. They do like 5 or 6 songs, but it's cool. And they come around and they'll spend time with each and every person. I mean, it's like, a minute or two, but they'll sign whatever you want. They'll take individual pictures with you, and then you get ushered back in to take the picture and makeup. See me when I attended, I was just helping out the other fans. If someone needed a picture, I was like, here, I'll take the picture for you. I mean, because I didn't need any more pictures. I didn't need any autographs either. I didn't even want that. I just wanted to be part of the experience. And I guess a funny little story about that same thing is, so I was there and I'm helping other fans get pictures, and I just asked Gene. I go, hey Gene, can we just get a quick picture together? I just kind of want one. And he pulls me in and he goes, absolutely, Paul McCartney, because I guess it's a running joke with Gene and I that he says I look like Paul McCartney. So every time he says that, I'm like, well, at least this guy remembers me, so that's kind of cool.
He knows who you are.
He doesn't remember my name, but he says, you're the Paul McCartney kid that I always say looks like Paul McCartney. So it's very cool.
That's funny.
So anyway, do the meet and greet. It's awesome. Money well spent.
Yeah. I haven't done the meet and greet since 2004, so I am keen to do it again. I mean, when I went to Vegas last year, I went up and asked her, can you get the meet and greet still? Here's my credit card. Come on, I want to do it. I want to do it. It was a last-minute thing, and they weren't selling them on the spot. So if you do it, get in early and make that decision and get a spot. I want to see how they've changed in 11, 12. It'll be 2016 probably, in 12 years since I last did it, and I guess it'll be a novel thing to actually pay for one. So.
First time I met any band member was at the Indie Kiss Expo in 2003. They had it in the fall of 2003, actually, that year. Eric was playing with Alice Cooper at the time, and they seized that opportunity to have Eric as a special guest at Indie in 2003, and they had it in October. And Eric was sick that day, but he was still there and did a Q&A with everybody and was very nice, answered any questions, and signed. And you got in line and you signed him. Not signed him. He signed whatever you wanted for you. And it was looking back on it, it was really surreal because 1 week later, they announced, this was October 2003. Or no, I take it back. It was October of 2002. Because 1 week later, they announced that Kiss was going to play with the Symphony in Australia with Peter Criss. And prior to that, the last gig that Kiss had performed was with Eric on the drums. So Eric was really, he wasn't a jerk or anything, but I think he knew kind of what was going on, and the writing was on the wall that he was going to do that. And originally he thought he was going to end up doing the Symphony show, and then a week later they're in Australia with Peter Criss, Gene, Paul, and Peter. So, but he was professional. Obviously, he didn't give any hints or anything that he wouldn't be doing that, or he didn't give any hints about any kind of thing going on in Australia. But he was very nice. He signed anything that you wanted him to sign. Talked to you a little bit about whatever, kind of like what Mark was saying. If you talk to these guys about anything but their band, they're a little more keen to talk to you. And I talked to Eric about sports. Eric's a big sports guy. He'll talk to me all day about sports. So he was a very nice guy. Then the first time I ever met the band in general is in 2004. Then I did the meet and greet in 04, like I was saying, and they were obviously very cool, and every one of them just as nice as the day is long, and didn't ruin what my, like people say, don't meet your idols. It made me respect them even more because they are so down to earth and so nice and so cordial to their fans, as opposed to you hear other horror stories. And even the times I've met the other guy met Ace and Peter, they're always very nice, always never been a jerk or anything like that. And I've heard stories from friends of mine that say like, like Peter wouldn't sign this for me. He literally ran away from me or something when I asked him for an autograph. So
there you go, Andrew.
KissFAQ.
KissFAQ. No, that's nice.
Julian, I mean,
glad to see someone wearing those pieces of shit because I hate those T-shirts with a passion.
I like them. I thought it's cool.
Yeah, I haven't.
He's working on a new one.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything further with that one actually. I like that Love Gun silhouette one I can't remember who came up with the idea on the board. I'm not into T-shirts. I don't wear those freaking things anyway. Okay,
wearing
Lonnie.
now?
All right.
Huh?
I said, what are you wearing now?
Boring green T-shirt with no logos on it, no advertising, and certainly no Kiss. It's not that green Kiss Army thing that they send with the membership packs.
Oh.
I throw those in the garbage.
Awful.
Awful. I clean my car with those.
All right, Lonnie, take us into our next question. Or did we cover everyone?
No, we'll do another one. So, another one that we throw out there is your first Kiss song you ever heard. Did it like hook you immediately? Like I know we talked about how the first Kiss album you had, but what hooked you on the band? Did you hear a song coming from your older siblings' room and it's like, what is that? Did that draw you in and hook you immediately, or did it take you time? Was your fandom not immediate? So what was your first? Do you remember the first Kiss song you ever heard, or your first Kiss listening experience? And you guys are nodding. So Mark, let's go to you. Let's hear your first Kiss experience listening.
Well, I clearly remember I was with my sister. I think she was babysitting. I was living in an apartment building just outside of Toronto, and she took me over to one of her friends' places that was like a floor below us. And this guy had like tons of Kiss stuff, and he was always listening to Kiss. And I remember the very first song I ever heard from Kiss was there, and I remember it was Ladies' Room. He was listening to Alive 2. And I remember it was that song because I clearly remember that drum fill with the cowbell, the do 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 meet. Like as soon as I always remember hearing that fill and thinking when I first heard that, I'm like, what is that? Like, and because it was a live version of it too, so there was audience and all kinds of stuff. And I remember the first time I heard it, I thought it was pretty catchy, and it was something very electrifying about that performance. Being that it's from a live album, and I always thought it was odd that song was my first Kiss song that I heard, because you always figure that when you're gonna go in and listen to something, you always figure that the first time you hear it, you probably hear like the first song off a record would be the first one that you would hear. But I caught this obviously like midstream. He was probably already listening to it when we got there for a little while. So, but it was that song was my introduction to Kiss, and I still dig this song today. I kind of wonder why they don't play it more often, because it's pretty catchy. I think a lot of people would like to hear it still, but that was my introduction to Kiss, was Ladies' Room from Alive 2.
Boy, the odds on for you gamblers out there, your first Kiss song you ever heard, Ladies' Room, the odds on that would have been really high. So, Ladies' Room, that's a good one. Andrew, what about you? Let's hear from you.
It was actually Shouted Out Loud, and I think it was on Betamax, because I had a Betamax copy of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park that was taped from the original airing in '78. So, and it didn't have the beginning, so it didn't have the Rock and Roll Night intro. And it might not have been an original airing. It might have been an NBC late night airing. Regardless, it was an early airing of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park that I had on Betamax. And at the time, I had the comic book, and then my sister was like, "Hey, there was a movie, so let's watch it." So I'm watching the movie, and I didn't know they were a music group. I thought they were superheroes. I thought there was Spider-Man, Captain America, and Kiss. So I heard Shouted Out Loud, and I was like, "Whoa, they're a band?" And I kind of just forgot that they were a band until a couple years later, when I was like, wait, this is that same. And I put 2 and 2 together, and that's when I started getting all those cassette tapes and records. So it was Shout Out Loud, and I remember that because I remember watching the Kiss Meets the Phantom, and that was the first song they did when they came on, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Hooked ever since.
Shout It Out Loud.
Shout It Out Loud. Well, obviously, we know that it's the Destroyer version on there, so
right.
I guess you could say that. But I heard it from Kiss Meets the Phantom.
Very cool. Very cool. Ken, what about you?
Well, the first one was, the actual first song I heard was I Want You, where my friend had me over in his room, and he says, listen to this, and I was like, the acoustic, guitar playing. I thought, it's all right. Then it just blares in, after that, with the heavy guitars coming in, and I was like, oh, this is something different, and I think he played the full first side of the album, and I remember hearing "Calling Dr. Love." I would say "Calling Dr. Love" was probably my first favorite song of Kiss, though the first actual song was "I Want You," which is a great song on its own too. But that was it, and that ever since then I've been hooked.
Everybody gets hooked right away, apparently. Julian, did you get hooked right away?
No, sorry. First song, I don't know what the first song was that I heard. It was either Deuce or Black Diamond. And of course, I moved to America in December 78. And as I started school the following January, there was a talent show on at MacArthur Elementary in Binghamton, New York. And someone was dressed up on stage wearing tinfoil and black tights and doing the Kiss shtick and miming.
That's what most tribute bands do now.
Yeah, miming. Well, they were miming to Deuce and Black Diamond were the two songs. Did it stick with me? No. I just wasn't into music enough at that time for it to be anything more than a buried memory now. So it took me a few years later to kind of musically progress from Rubber Soul and Sgt. Pepper's and John Lennon's Shave Fish into heavy metal. I got there through Quiet Riot and Def Leppard. But it's kind of odd that Deuce is my all-time favorite song. So there you go. Probably one of the first songs I ever heard is the most important song in the canon to me. And if I don't hear that live, I'm an unfucking happy customer.
What's your language, Julie?
Sorry, Dad.
My first Kiss listening experience was off of a Destroyer cassette tape that my brother had. And I remember going into his room and he was playing Detroit Rock City, and I heard that, and I heard it and I was like, wow, that's really, really, really good. Obviously it's incredible. And then he showed me the cassette tape, and you have to squint a little bit to see it, because even like the cassette tape, it was like cut in half. The picture was cut in half, so they didn't have to change the image. You could barely see that what the image was. I was like, this is badass, and I fell in love with it immediately. And maybe because my older brother, he was really into like the Oak Ridge Boys and like some really twangy country. So the fact that my other brother showing me Kiss really like, wow, this is a lot better than what Aaron's listening to. So it just hooked me right away, and we literally wore out that Destroyer tape. Literally to the point that it wouldn't even play anymore at all. We just listened to that so much. So, unlike Julian, I was hooked right away on the band from the first time I heard them when I was like a toddler almost. So,
from the five of us, that's a really good bunch of songs that we've just listed being the first ones we ever heard. I mean, Deuce, Black Diamond, Detroit Rock City, Shout It Out Loud.
Yeah.
Ken, what was yours? I Want You?
Core songs.
Yeah. And Ladies Room. So, I mean, that's a fantastic core of the Kiss catalog. I'm
just glad it's none of the 80s songs. I'm glad someone's like, yeah, the first song I heard was I'm Alive. And I'd be like, why are you a fan? Why?
I heard No, and I was hooked ever since.
If I heard No, I'd be like, this band sucks. I was sitting for this.
Read My Body, man. That was the first. Someone
Cadillac Dreams. Yeah.
But Lonnie, what I was going to say is, another thing I was thinking about while you guys were talking is, I probably heard them on the radio, maybe in like 75. I used to, fall asleep to my radio, like before going to school or whatever, or it was on a school night or something like that. I used to, just have my radio on a timer, right, to play for I don't know how long, half hour. And I just fall asleep while the radio is playing. But I remember certain songs, but I don't remember. I almost want to say I did hear it, Rock and Roll All Night live at one point, but I don't remember it. So it's possible I just never heard it. But I never picked up on it.
I hate Rock and Roll All Night.
Because you're in a tribute band, you have to play it every night.
No, even before that. If the next time I hear that, if I never hear that song again, still too soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have any other first you want to cover, or do we?
Can we do one more?
Yeah, we
Is
can
there
do one.
what about what is there? What else is on the list?
We could do what is. This might be a fun one with Andrew here this week. When was the first time you ever? Have you ever? And when was the first time you ever put on Kiss makeup? Andrew, let's throw it to you for that one.
Hold on. I have a picture of it, so just give me a second.
Oh, I bet you look really cute in it too.
Looks like a little Paul McCartney all dressed up in makeup.
Okay, so the first time I ever put on Kiss makeup, I was a kid. I was maybe 5 years old. I didn't do it myself, but I got the picture in here somewhere. Actually, here's the me meeting Mark St. John. I look like Fred Savage.
Oh, Andrew, you look so cute. You look adorable.
I know. So there's that. But I know
what a wonder boy.
Yeah, exactly. I know I got the picture in here. I was young. I was real young. All right. There's that one. I know there's another one in here.
Okay, so I have Beatles songs going in my head right now. Much younger than before.
All right. So here it is. It was taken on like an older camera, so it's a little unclear. But my favorite as a kid was Ace. So here's me at 4 years old, dressed up as Ace Frehley. So that's me, and I had a Fisher Price guitar or something. But there's another picture that I'll have to dig out from the same day. That's a little bit clearer. But I don't know if you can see, but that's me dressed up as Ace. And I remember, and it was right after I'd watched Kiss Meets the Phantom and seen the comic and all that stuff. And I just wanted to put on the makeup. I couldn't. I was like, oh, I want to put on the makeup, but can someone do it for me? So I think my mom or sister did it for me at the time. And after that, I didn't do the makeup for a long time, a long time. I did it when I was a kid, and then maybe I didn't do it again until I was like maybe 17 or 18, right before I did my first tribute show. Someone did a makeup test on me because I didn't think I was going to look like Peter Criss. I'm like, I don't look anything like this guy. And someone put the makeup on me, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I look a lot like him in the makeup.
Transformation.
And then as I started perfecting the makeup a little more, I was like, whoa, I look just like him. And the first 5 or 6 times I did it, it was really freaking me out. And I was putting the makeup on. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, and it wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't me going, hey, screw you guys. It was a thing where I was like, I couldn't believe that makeup transformed me so much. And as I learned to proportion it to my face and match up certain points in my face, it was like a transformation. And as I would be doing it, I'd be like, oh, this is amazing. I mean, now I slap it on. It's like a second skin. But those first couple times when I did it, I was like, holy crap. And so aside from those times doing Ace when I was a little kid, and obviously doing Peter now, and then I did Eric Carr one time, I've never worn any other Kiss makeup before that. Never. I've never been Gene, never been Paul, never been Vinny, obviously. But obviously the most I've done is Peter.
That's cool. I wouldn't have picked that the first Kiss member you ever put on the makeup as was Ace Frehley. That's a good story. Ken, this was your topic, so this was your idea, wasn't it? So let's hear from you.
Yeah, I remember doing it 1978 was the first time. And I think it was me and 3 other guys. We all put the Kiss makeup on. I remember going and buying the makeup kit, the Kiss one.
You ruined the good makeup. You ruined the makeup.
I did. I went through 2 of those 2 years in a row.
No. What's the makeup? Was there a song for the makeup? No. There was only a song for the makeup.
It was a commercial.
And the mom walking in, they're playing.
Kiss your face. The guy
Kiss your face, right?
He's like just.
So I remember doing that. I remember. I know I have a picture of it, but I was the times I've put the makeup on. I've always been Gene Simmons. So I remember putting it on. This is shortly around, like I said, 78. So this is solo album time. And we went to what's funny about it is this, we went to a roller rink. They had a Halloween thing there, and we had the makeup on, people dressed up, and it was roller skating. And so we went roller skating, and I was in the Kiss makeup, and I think what I did in my hair, I used that black spray where you can spray your hair, and I sprayed it black, and then my hair was just long enough to tie a little deal on the top of my head with a rubber band, and but I remember being able to ask girls to go skating around the rink, where you wouldn't do it before, or they probably wouldn't want to go
Raise your confidence a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, they wouldn't reject you. It's like holy, this is different. That this is so easy with the Gene Simmons makeup on. So, but anyway, yeah, that was the first time. I think we did about the same thing a year later. And again, I bought another kit. I remember having to do my friend's. He couldn't draw the star on the side, so I did it for him. And it came out pretty darn good. It came out better on him, me doing it on him, than me doing Gene Simmons on myself. It was kind of a little bit hokey the first time.
Mark, what about you? You ever dress up as a member of?
The funny thing is, my older sister there again, she started getting into graphic artistry stuff when she was about to go into college. And when we were still living in the apartment, I remember she called me and asked me to corral 3 more of my friends over for Halloween because she wanted to do the Kiss makeup designs on some people. So she volunteered us to do it. So she got us all in one room. And I gotta say, she did an absolutely fantastic job. The only thing I remember of it that kind of annoyed me was that I had just started playing guitar at that time, and I desperately wanted to be either Paul or Ace. And for some reason, she assigned me to Peter Criss, and I was so pissed off. I was like, I don't want to be him, because I was, being the guitar player, I wanted to be Ace or somebody else, right? But she did a really great job of doing it. And it turned out really cool. And I remember we had one of those. I don't know if you guys have seen something like this, but in an apartment building, they would have these little contests at the bottom floor where they would corral all the kids together and see who had the best costumes, and you would get a little prize, right? And I remember we won it, our group, for being dressed up as Kiss. It was really, really well done. And I mean, she went out and got us all wigs and stuff like that because we were all young then, right? And then, but for my kind of interesting point later on, when I started being in bands and stuff like that, I remember they had a jam night here one time for Halloween years ago, and I got a bunch of my friends that played in other bands as well, and we all got dressed up as Kiss, and I was able to do myself as Ace finally for that, and we went up and played about, I don't know, 6 or 7 Kiss songs for Halloween for that time, and it was cool because I already had long hair at that point, so it was a lot easier to kind of do it that way, right? But it was cool. That was the 2 times I did it. Was once when I was young, and then a lot later on when I was doing it with a couple of bandmates from other bands. And it was good. I think my sister still did it better than we did it because by that point when we decided to go and do it, we were already at my place and drinking beers galore and yeah, let's go to this jam night tonight. So the start was a little off because we're half in the bag at that point, right? But it ended up being pretty cool because we played the songs really cool, and it was really cool. I kind of have fond memories of those times doing it, especially the second time because I can remember that a little bit more than when I was a kid. But yeah, it was really cool.
That's fun. That's a cool story. Now, I'm going to place a wager before we ask Julian, but I'm going to say Julian has never put on the makeup.
Well, Julian doesn't even like Kiss, so
That's
I mean,
true.
I'm not really surprised.
That's true also.
Correct. I have never put on Kiss makeup. I have no desire to either, for that matter.
Not even the Asylum makeup.
If I put on Kiss makeup with my face, I would look like some Norwegian death metal band. So.
Not true. Not true.
Very
It's
heavy.
all about
Julian never put it
proportions.
on.
It's all about proportions.
No, maybe.
I'm telling you, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, oh, he doesn't look bad now. Keep it on.
He's
That's what people say to me.
Like a chunky Peter Criss. So.
Well, I mean, he had that phase.
All right, Lonnie, I think I've seen pictures of you as someone.
I have. I dressed up as Paul Stanley over the weekend, actually. It was pretty hot. And actually, the first person I ever dressed up as was Paul Stanley. It was when I was in college. I was a freshman in college, and I was in the jazz band we would play at a football game on Saturday. It was Halloween, and I dressed up as Paul Stanley for that. And my sister-in-law actually put on the makeup for me. I didn't know what I was doing, and she said, "Oh, I could do it for you." So she put it on me as Paul Stanley. Paul and Gene are the only ones I've ever dressed up as, but it was kind of cool. And I remember driving. I was in college where I was living at home, and I remember my dad seeing me with the Paul Stanley makeup on, just kind of shaking his head at me, and he goes, "So are you?" He goes, "What are you getting ready to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to leave." Well, please don't speed or run any red lights, because if you get pulled over, you're definitely going to get a ticket. So, luckily I didn't get pulled over that day, but it's a different experience. I guess it's fun. It's just one of the unique things about being a KISS fan. You know, you can dress up as your favorite member, so it just kind of makes things a little more fun. Unless you're Julian and you're a stick in the mud and you refuse to.
No. If I'm going to dress up as someone, I'd rather look like Lemmy. That's much easier.
You got to have that little that growth.
No, you just throw on a t-shirt and a trench coat. I mean, yeah, that's as far as I ever went.
Hey, you know what? I actually saw some guy on one of the KISS cruises. He dressed up as Revenge Gene. He had the shirt that said "Blow Me Blind," and he had the raccoon wig, and he had a long leather jacket. I go, that's actually really cool. That's actually really cool that he did that. I thought it was funny.
That is actually a cool point, Andrew, about people dressing up as the band. Is that on the cruise, like when the cruise I went on, you'd see like a guy he dressed up as like Crazy Nights Paul Stanley and had like the basketball jersey on that Paul wore on that. Yeah. And it's kind of fun. You see like some different variations of people dressing up as like even non-makeup versions of the band, which is really kind of fun.
I actually was the last cruise I went on, I was actually going to dress up as Garth Algar. I had the costume and everything, but I was too drunk to remember to put it on. So
I can't believe that at all.
Hey, it was my vacation. I was drunk all 5 of those days. It was awesome.
KISS Cruise 2, I don't think Andrew has like any memories from KISS Cruise 2 at all.
Well, this is actually really funny. KISS Cruise 3, I heavily drank at KISS Cruise 3. Because I really needed the vacation at the time. And I was drunk while the Sail Away show was going on. And I just remember the Sail Away show. I'm like, they only play like 3 songs. And then like people were showing me clips. And I was like, I don't remember that. They didn't play that song. And I go, oh my God, they did play that song. What was I doing? Why? Like and there's a really funny picture of me on Facebook where I was drunk and someone took a picture. I'm like this. I'm like, but the funniest part about it is I just spilled a drink. So there was an entire drink that was just spilled down my shirt. I didn't even know.
That's like a $9 beer on the cruise.
I was so hammered that I didn't puke, but like later that night I had to stop and be like, guys, just wait. I just need a minute right now. I need a minute. And I had to sit down. They were like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need a minute. But it didn't stop me. The whole cruise drunk, whole time drunk.
So everyone who's setting out on the cruise, when do they take off today?
Today.
It departs.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to mention something about that too, because there's a thread on the FAQ about that, obviously. And Paul just posted a picture of, I guess, the shoes that he's bringing on. They're actually really cool shoes. Yeah. And some guy's like, look at the pill bottle underneath there. I'm like, dude, what is the matter with you?
He's 60-something years old. Yeah, he might need something for any
blood pressure or something.
I can't imagine something that I enjoy, like KISS, and then being like, oh, yeah, look at that guy. He's taking pills. I can't imagine doing that. But you got these people that consistently, they just want to shit all over everything that they do. They're like, they're like, I got into a back and forth the other day. Someone was saying, do we even know that they're going to wear the Alive suits? And I'm like, so I posted a picture because if you follow certain members of the crew on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, they posted a costume fitting of Gene with the Alive boots. I go, well, this is how we know. And then once I had the proof, he shut up. So I'm like, all they want to do is just argue. And I don't want to argue about KISS. KISS is something fun, and I still enjoy it.
You know, I've become so used to just tuning out all that bullshit static, but I gotta say there was one good response to, what the hell are those pills? And one of them, Paul Stanley officially licensed Live to Win pills.
That's actually really good.
But I can't believe that. I can't believe he posts a picture, and whenever Paul posts, I'm like, it's pretty cool. It's cool to see that. And someone's like, forget about the shoes. Look at the pills. I'm like, dude, get a life.
Yeah,
Just
it's
enjoy
like
it.
it's like why focus on bullshit irrelevancy? Paul's obviously happy he's going out on this and sharing a picture of him packing. Don't fucking overanalyze his goddamn luggage. I mean, for God's sake, get a life.
I completely agree with you.
Says one of the guys doing a podcast that delves into the minutiae.
Says, get a life.
Get a life.
I
Pot
don't
kettle
think
black.
five of us or any people should be telling that to anybody.
Well, no, but what I guess I should clarify that. What I mean by that is like, don't purposely shit on something because you have nothing better to do. You know, we're doing this because this is cool. This is fun. It's cool to talk about Kiss. We all still enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't mess it up for other people. You know,
There's a lot of bitter musicians out there. Let me tell you that have nothing better to do than to pick on people that are more that succeeded more in this than they did. So they have nothing better to do than to shit on people like that. It happens in every level of musicianship I've seen. I'm sure you've probably experienced it too, Andrew. I'm sure, right?
10.
Yeah.
So and I'll share a brief story and then I'll shut up. I promise.
Am I gonna have to edit this one out?
No. This is
Okay.
this
He
is not
likes the
edited
sound
out
of his
story.
own voice, Julian. Let him talk.
Okay, awesome, Andrew, go for it.
This is a good story. You know, I have most of my friends that live around town with me. They don't like Kiss. So when they come over and they see all the Kiss posters everywhere, like I have the Dynasty posters up and my solo album posters. I got a big Kiss blanket on my bed, and you know one of my
this big Kiss blanket on his
actually one of my girlfriends came over and she's like, "You bring girls here? Like they stay there? They stay there?" And then so I had to explain to her, and it didn't. I haven't always been like this. It took me a long time to get here. Where I say, you know what? Do you know why this is cool? It's cool because there's nothing sexier when someone just does what they like and they surround themselves with their passion. They do that. There's nothing sexier than that. So yes, me having Kiss posters up, you might not think it's cool, but somebody's going to be like, you know what? It's so cool that Andrew just does what he likes. He wears Kiss shirts every day. He goes to see Kiss. He does this. There's nothing sexier than when someone does their passion. And after I told her that, she was like, "All right, you want to bang?" But I'm telling you, there's nothing sexier than that. So I know a lot of us probably have struggles with life and this and that, and sometimes we're embarrassed about our Kiss fandom. And I used to be too. Every time I'd be embarrassed, I'm like, why couldn't I like something that everybody else likes? But the older I got and the more I dive into this and the more I do things like this or I talk to other fans and whatnot, it makes me proud that I can do this and that I have this outlet. So even though it might not be the most popular outlet for other average 30-year-olds, in Ohio where I live, doesn't matter. Because when people see that I have this passion for that, they go, you know what? That's cool.
Exactly. You know what? I gotta just pop in for 1 second. 'Cause I go through the same thing. I mean, a lot of my friends are doing the whole, married with kids and the mortgage and all that stuff. And, being a person who plays music still and makes albums and, goes out and plays and stuff. I mean, I sometimes get that resentment from those people that are like, they always have some comment about it, but in the back of my mind, I know because I've heard it after a few drinks from some of these people that they wish they were still doing this stuff. They wish that they were still playing, or they wish that they were still, having these things. And life has gotten in the way with some of it. So I mean, I applaud you, Andrew, as well for if you have the chance and the opportunity to do it for as long as you can, because I mean, who knows what'll happen in 2 weeks from now or a month from now. Maybe something will change where you might not be able to do it, and be happy that you can do it now, because I'm happy doing it still, and I love making music and making albums. I'm just finishing another one now, and there's a lot of people out there that wish that they can do it. Well, I guess we're lucky in that sense that we can do it, so amen.
Yeah. And I'm actually 6 o'clock today. It was 6 o'clock Eastern time. I'm actually headed out on a flight to go to Chicago because we're playing in St. Charles on Halloween night. So
cool.
It's going to be
Cool. You're playing at that Arcadia Theater?
The Arcada, yes. And it's our
awesome.
5th show there or something that we played over the last couple of years. But I'm real excited because it's so cool for me that I'm able to have that split life. And I still have promoters that want to fly me halfway around the world and put me up in nice hotels and feed me a bunch of food and put me in front of fans. And it's awesome. It's so awesome. And people, they always tell me like, oh, you're just in a tribute band. And then I'm like, you know what? You're just jealous because you wish you could do what I do. So I'm extremely thankful and extremely fortunate. And, I'm getting ready to do a big overhaul in the new year to kind of, I don't know, it sounds lame, but to kind of brand myself and to kind of, just take advantage of the opportunities that I've been awarded. So, and I don't take it lightly. I love it. And I can't imagine doing anything else.
Hashtag live to win.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, it's like a Paul Stanley thing. You got to live like you're on vacation.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
Or is that a Vinnie Vincent thing? We don't know whose lyric that is. Whatever, that's the case. You got to live. Tomorrow you can be dead.
I think you bring up a good point about the passion that we all share. People walk into my house and they see my KISS stuff everywhere. I don't hide it. I don't hide it in a particular room. I have it out and it's everywhere, just like that. And
it's full of KISS posters too. Full.
And people look at me, in my KISS t-shirts or with my KISS tattoos or all the stuff I have in my house, and they're like, "Well, I'm not as passionate about anything as much as you are about KISS." But you know what? I kind of look at that as like, well, I'm a very passionate guy. I can't imagine not having that in my life. That I would feel like there'd be a void in my life without that there, because it's such a big part of me and it makes me who I am. So, I think that the five of us have wasted enough of the viewers' time at this point, but I appreciate everyone watching and listening, and I would encourage anyone to tell us about their first KISS experiences. Tell us about your first KISS concert. Did it change your life? Tell us about the first KISS album that you had. Did it change who you are as a person? Did it make you think differently about life? We talked about how those KISS concerts were, life-changing events, and it changed us as people. And did it change you? And don't throw in, please don't try to be a negative person and say, "Oh, well, I saw him this, and Paul had a pill bottle and just ruined everything for me." Let's be positive about it. Tell us about your first KISS experience. Tell us about the first time you bought a CD, your first time you saw him in concert, the first time you put on the makeup. Did it make you feel different as a person? Did people laugh at you and make fun of you? But remember that you guys can watch the show on YouTube. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes. You can listen on Spreaker. You can download the shows directly from the KissFAQ. So, for Ken, for Julian, for Mark, and for little Andrew all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, I am Lonnie Weissauer, stlkiss on the KissFAQ message board. You stay classy, Kiss Army.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. We hope to see you again.